The biggest mistake organizations make is trying to satisfy their own needs rather than the needs of their users, which ends up creating some pretty poor outcomes. You can avoid this common mistake by making your users' needs your North Star. A North Star guides every decision you make and every action you take. That is why users are placed at the top of every Wortley map. Their needs should be the focus of the entire organization. Satisfying these needs is how you create value. Here's an example of how to do this. Let's imagine we're running a new business who want to open up a coffee shop in our city's business district. The reason we do this, in other words our vision, is to build a chain of coffee shops serving the needs of users in central business districts around the world. Our users therefore are business people on their way to work, or taking coffee breaks during the day. We've learned our users want high-quality coffee served quickly, and they want to enjoy it in comfortable surroundings. Therefore, if our business is going to be successful, we're going to have to satisfy those desires. Otherwise, our target users won't come back to our coffee shop time after time. And this is where a map is extremely useful. It helps everyone in the business see all the things we need to do to create value for these users, and, by extension, for ourselves. If we take our users' perspective, in other words, seeing the world through their eyes, the first thing we think they'll be looking for is a convenient location somewhere close to the office. Finding the right location for our coffee shop is crucial, and it's going to need some research. This is more art than science, so we place this component to the left as there's going to be some uncertainty about it. Fortunately, the Internet, which we're going to use for this research, is a widely available utility-like service, so it goes on the right of our map. The only thing this component needs, apart from a digital device, is payment, which requires us to have a contract with an Internet service provider. Try as we might to do everything ourselves, we're also probably going to need a real estate agent to guide us through the process of closing out a deal. And they, of course, also want payment, so we'll need to sign a contract with them as well. The next thing we believe our users will be looking for is a fast service system, and this requires at least 3 subcomponents: a concept, some equipment, and some staff. The concept of speedy service helped McDonald's become successful, and this led to the birth of the entire fast food industry. Starbucks did the same for coffee shops. So we might decide this is an area where we're going to need to differentiate ourselves if we want to stand out. To stand out, we'll need to be creative, which is why this component is on the left of the map, although we're going to use the Internet again for research. We're also going to need equipment for our fast service system, and for that we'll need a supplier. Again, we might use the Internet to research reliable suppliers. Any supplier will also need payment, and therefore another contract to be signed. The equipment we will use will be powered by electricity, which again is another payment and another contract to be signed. We'll need staff to work in this coffee shop, and they'll need employment contracts so that they can be paid as well. Even though our passion is to open up a unique coffee shop, we're learning that we're going to need research, accounting, and legal skills to get this project off the ground. We're also going to need to prove to users that our coffee, our service, and the entire experience of visiting our coffee shop is going to be worth paying for. This requires developing a brand synonymous with quality, and that's going to take some work as well. Maybe we'll create a concept based on the coffee itself. That will require some imagination, as, generally speaking, coffee beans are a commodity, which means differentiation will be a challenge. But we could try to raise the profile of the coffee beans by building a story around their source. This means again finding the right supplier, which will also take some research and more time on the Internet. We can see now that satisfying our users' simplest needs requires a lot of work. But mapping all of this before we start investing time and money is important, as it shows us where to focus, what has to be done, and helps us to see if we have resources to do what's required. Who, for example, will do all the research? Do we have enough capital to make all those payments first before the revenue starts to flow in? With a map, we can ask all these types of questions in a matter of hours and make adjustments now, rather than months into the project when we're under pressure. And if it takes all of this to satisfy a relatively simple user need for a cup of coffee, you can imagine how challenging it is to satisfy the more complex needs of your users. That's why you need to start mapping. When you hear the question, what do your users need? Do you feel a knot in your stomach? Don't worry, you're in good company. That's why we've created the AQ workbook Focus on Users' Needs, just to help you work out what your users are looking for. Contact us for a free copy.